Hey barbecue family, welcome back to another episode of the Backyard SmokeMaster Barbecue channel. Today I'm going to show you how unbelievably easy it is to do smoky brisket on your pellet grill. Today I'm only using 4 ingredients. I have a small 8-pound prime brisket that I'm going to get out onto the smoker. I'm using Worcestershire sauce as my binder. I've got SuckleBuster's Texas brisket rub, and for the smoke ingredient, I'm using Smokin Pecan pellets. Pellet grills are a true set it and forget it experience. It doesn't get any easier than that. Today I'm going to set my temperature to a very low 200 degrees Fahrenheit to give this large cut of meat plenty of time to soak in as much smoke flavor as it can before I wrap it in butcher paper. Take it all the way to around 175 or so, and that'll be around the time when I'll be ready to wrap it. After we wrap, we're just gonna finish off the cook, let it get to probably 203, 204, get it off of the smoker. Very important, guys. Let your brisket rest. Let your large cuts of meat rest. Don't be in a rush. You spent all that time smoking this big cut of meat, forming that great bark on it. You don't want to ruin it by slicing into it too soon. Stick around, I'll show you just how easy this process is. I got this brisket from Sam's Club and it came in pretty good shape. Didn't require a whole lot of trimming, but I did take off any hard pockets of fat, and just where, you want to have about a 1/4 inch of fat. Where it looked like it was well in excess of that, I did try to trim it down, but I found that I didn't need to do a whole lot of trimming. That makes it even easier. When you get your brisket at home, give it a good look over, remove areas of excess fat, but remember, backyard barbecue, you don't have to go crazy with the trimming. We're not out here trying to impress by making this be a competition-worthy brisket visually. For the binder today, I'm going to use Worcestershire sauce. So I'm just gonna get some of that on here and then just kind of slather it around. It's not a thick binder, but I'm going for a more beefy flavor today. I think this will, I don't know if it really adds anything, but just in my mind, I think it will go nicely with the brisket. And for the rub, today I'm going to try SuckleBuster's Texas brisket rub. It's got sea salt, paprika, sugar, garlic, black pepper, onion, celery powder, and some other spices. We'll repeat the process on the other side. Today we're going to go with Smokin Pecan, 100% natural pecan shell pellets. So that means that these pellets are made completely 100% from the shells of pecans. And if you want to check these out, I think they give significantly more smoke than you get from your traditional pellets from other name brands. If you want to check them out, I've got a code that you can use. You can save 10%. If you go to smokinpecan.com, enter the code Backyard SmokeMaster, and you can get 10% off of your first order. And here's a look at what those pellets made completely from the pecan shells look like. I let the brisket hang out in my refrigerator while my pellet grill came up to temperature. So this is a relatively small brisket. It's only about 8 pounds, but it is a full packer brisket. And as I mentioned, I'm going ultra low and slow. I'm gonna let this brisket go at 200 degrees. Because I'm cooking at such a low temperature, I don't anticipate that I'm going to need to do any spritzing during the cook. My plan is to just let it go completely unbothered until it reaches around 175 internal, and then at that point I'll wrap it in butcher paper and then put it back on the smoker and take it all the way to the finishing temperature. And for those of you who are curious, because I'm using a pellet smoker, heat source is at the bottom, so I'm gonna do this brisket fat side down. We're almost 3 hours into this cook, and I just want to do a quick temperature check. I'm not expecting to be anywhere close to being where we're ready to do any wrapping. We're getting an internal temperature of 145, so we're making some pretty nice progress. And I'll probably insert a leave-in thermometer maybe after another hour. I'll put in a leave-in thermometer and then continue to monitor the temperature until we get to 175 internal. Visually, we can see that the bark is not yet set, so I'm not going to do anything to it with regard to the bark. No spritzing, again, going at 200 degrees, so I'm not worried about this brisket drying out or overcooking. The brisket has reached 180 internal, so actually now we're going to get it wrapped. So I've got it wrapped, and now we're just going to get it back on the smoker and continue to monitor the temperature until it reaches 203 internal. After wrapping the brisket, I returned it to the smoker. I did pump up the temperature on my pellet grill from 200 degrees to 250 degrees. I did that for the last hour. All in all, it took just under 12 hours to do this relatively small brisket of about 8 pounds. Took it to an internal temperature of 204 degrees. Normally, I do my briskets on my offset smoker or on one of my charcoal smokers. So this was a relatively new experience. I haven't done one on my pellet smoker in quite some time. So I really just wanted to find out. I knew it was going to be an easy process, but would I be happy with the end result? Will I get those usual things that I look for when I do a brisket on an offset, like a nice smoke ring? Well, I got my answer to that question using, again, Smokin Pecan pellets and going really slow, really low and slow with the temperature, 200 degrees for the vast majority of the cook. You can see there is a very deep, pronounced smoke ring. Now that's not an indicator of any test or anything. It's really just one of those vanity metrics when it comes to barbecue. But I am more than happy. And look how tender that is. I got no complaints visually with how this brisket looks or with the tenderness. But let's see how it tastes. Cheers. I got no complaints about the taste either. This is a good brisket. I'm really kind of blown away actually by how impressive that smoke ring is. This hits on all the marks, everything that I was looking for in terms of a good backyard, smoky, tender, flavorful brisket. Many folks who are just getting started in barbecue, one of their ultimate goals is to be able to smoke a brisket, but you may be intimidated because it is a long cook, very involved process. There are potentially a lot of hurdles to overcome during the cook, so a lot of people get intimidated and they're afraid to give it a try. If you have a pellet smoker, I would say, and you are beginning to get your feet wet in barbecue, this is an excellent way to go. The advantage of a pellet smoker is that it is a true set it and forget it barbecue experience. Set your temperature, make sure you've got enough pellets in the hopper, and just let it go. So to recap, I set my temperature for my pellet smoker to 200 degrees and let that brisket smoke naturally. I did not do any spritzing at all. I just let it go until it hit 180 internal. You can take it to 175, 170. Use those visual cues. You want to make sure that your bark is set, and when it gets to that point, you can then wrap it. I recommend wrapping in butcher paper to preserve the bark, and then take it the rest of the way. 203, 204 internal, and then very important, when you take it off of the smoker, make sure to let your brisket rest for an adequate amount of time. I let mine rest for 3 hours in my Cambro. Then when it's time to slice, make sure you're slicing against the grain, and you can end up with a perfectly fantastic, smoky, tender, beautiful brisket just like this one. Would love to know in the comments if this is something that you're going to try to do, or if you've already done it, if you've got any tips that you'd like to share about your brisket process. Would love to hear about it. Thank you for tuning in to the Backyard SmokeMaster Barbecue channel. I'm Kenyatta Robinson. Please take a moment, if you haven't already, to like the video and subscribe, and share the video if you've got friends who are also interested in leveling up their backyard barbecue experience. Take care, get out there, enjoy your grills and smokers, and I'll see you in the next one.